Funding for the Durban Association for the Aged organization has been suspended by the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Social Development. Now, according to the department, the MPO has been facing a series of disputes and has also failed to provide services to those who depend on them. The department says the organization is unstable. To tell us more, I'm joined by Nilisiwe Vilakazi on the line from the Department of Social Development, and she's in Durban right now. Nilisiwe, thank you so much for your time this evening. How many homes fall under the umbrella of the Durban Associate of the Aged, and how many people do they care for on a daily basis?
Good evening, and thank you very much for having us in your show. Durban Association for the Aged is not a residential care association. So they do take care of the elderly who come to their service centers, and also they will have social workers that service the elderly. And they have about 5 different service centers across Durban. And those are the people who benefit from the services that they offer.
And obviously a very important service in those communities. Now, this decision by your department seemed to have been a long time coming, because according to your statement and reports, there have been ongoing conversations and interactions and official meetings between yourself and Dafta to try and get to the bottom of the disputes that they were facing. There will be reports of a failure to render services to those vulnerable groups, and also the mistreatment of employees. Can you just give us in a nutshell an idea of how bad the services had become at these service centres?
I think basically the issue is around governance and also non-compliance with the Non-Profit Organization Act. We, as the Department of Social Development, have a service level agreement with Dafta. And in the service level agreement that we have with them, there are clear deliverables that to say this is what they need to deliver on, so that we are confident as government that we support them with the public funds. So the challenge is then it's when they do not comply even with their own constitution. One of the critical issues that are a challenge for us as the department is the authenticity of the board itself, because the board that we have been working with, we have learned that is not an authentic board, because after they had their annual general meeting and electing a board that must ensure that there is governance in the organization, then few days down the line, they also came up with another board, which is not in line with their constitution, which is not in line with an AGM, which is something that you'll never see in any organization that is run in terms of the Non-Profit Organization Act. So that's why we have a problem as well.
So what happens now, Nilisiwe? Firstly, what happens to the many people who depend on these service centres or these places of where they receive care on a daily basis in communities that need it most, I assume? What happens to these people? And also now, what happens in this process with regards to the Durban Association for the Aged? Will you be following up on how funds have been used? And then will you be looking to release those funds to go to other organizations to provide the service in their place?
Yes, because of the fact that the beneficiaries are not aware, some of them, of the challenges that are there, and it's not their fault that those that are responsible for the running of the organization are not doing well. We cannot then make the beneficiaries suffer. That's why then we have come up with the turnaround strategies to ensure that even if we are suspending the funding to Dafta, but they continue to receive services. The care centers that are there across eThekwini, some of them are registered as non-profit organizations, and we are also in engagement with other NPOs. Like there's one NPO that has similar objectives like Dafta, who can then assist us in terms of ensuring that the services that must be rendered to the beneficiaries, the older persons, they continue even if we are suspending funding to Dafta. So there are plans in place. Like tomorrow we do have meetings with other service centers. We've already met some of the NPOs because we want to ensure that there is continuity of the services, because we have a responsibility as well as the Department of Social Development in terms of the Older Persons Act, in terms of the NPO Act, as well as in terms of the PFMA. And that's why we have come up with these strategies. And also, we have engaged with the board itself. And then they also agreed, they confirmed in front of us to say, yes, after the election of the board, we also came up with new people that were not elected for certain reasons. But that is not in line with their constitution, which was a concern to us. And we shared that with the board.
Okay, thank you so much for that update. That's Nilisiwe Vilakazi from the Department of Social Development speaking to us live there from Durban.